Hi guys, TheBarracuda57 here. This video will be on INFJ codependency, knowing when enough is enough, learning to kind of say no, and learning to be individual and not self-reliant on people. And it's also learning boundaries between helping people who need help and the difference between helping people who just lean on you and use you for your empathetic nature because they can walk over you and to an extent, you know, use you. So it's basically learning the differences between knowing when to help and knowing not when to help, basically. And in the second part of this video I'll be talking about self-confidence and how to improve your confidence and to improve your functions and individuality. So yeah, I hope it helps you guys out and I hope you enjoy. Now, when I was younger, I used to people please all the time. I didn't really fit in anywhere, and I didn't really belong to a group. So because of this, and I imagine it happens with a lot of you guys as well as you're growing up, because you're the odd one out, because you have quite an uncommon personality, and because you're quite strange and different, you learn to people please and you try and help people in order to kind of make friends because you're so kind of like different in terms of your functioning. Now this is very good because it teaches you how to adapt, and it teaches you to be a chameleon. But it's a double-edged sword because it kind of teaches you to be codependent, and it doesn't really teach you to be independent. And basically when you grow up, you've unconsciously done these things and done this so many times, it becomes kind of like a habitual ritual, and it becomes kind of like an inbred thing and a kind of repetitive unconscious thing which you've had since you were really young. And it's basically learning to kind of become individual, to kind of be self-sufficient and not rely on other people to get things done, and to basically, you know, have confidence and choose your direction in life. And the thing is, a lot of people don't know what they want to do in their lives, and that's fair enough. But, you know, it comes with time, it comes with practice, and, you know, it comes through experience, basically. And basically, the one thing that we really struggle with is codependency. It's just something which we all learn differently, and we all learn to come out of it within our own time. I became independent at a very young age. I became independent about 18, and I've been independent ever since. And I've been quite strong-willed, quite self-sufficient, and you know, I basically help people when they need to be helped, and I can also tell when people are just asking for help because they assume that I'm always going to help them, and because I'm empathetic, therefore I'm going to help them do their homework, therefore I'm going to help them with every problem, you know. And it's kind of like there's a difference between people who actually need your help and people who just lean on you because they're lazy or because they just don't want to take any responsibility for their own actions. And basically, you can become chained, and you can become like obligated, and you can do it out of guilt to help other people. But that's not good, basically. If you're helping other people out of guilt, it's more so an infliction on them rather than it is to you. It's basically their children, bluntly their children who don't want to take responsibility. So what is the difference? Well, this is how I kind of see it. Again, this is a subjective opinion, but it's just an insight and maybe, you know, something to think about and to consider when it comes to the INFJ. How I see it, okay, I'm going to talk about the cognitive functions for a little bit. If you don't know what the cognitive functions are, please look them up, because a lot of people take the Myers-Briggs test and never look up the cognitive functions. They're really easy. You know, the Myers-Briggs is not a horoscope, it's actually a psychological function test, which is based on psychology and based on thinking and processing, okay? So, cognitive functions. In terms of INFJ, the cognitive functions are NI, introverted intuition, FE, extroverted feeling, TI, introverted thinking, and SE, extroverted sensing. Now basically how I see it, there are two types of INFJ. You've got the TI heavy INFJ, who's a very thinking, analytic, and very quite like philosophical INFJ, and it's very much linked to the left brain, the logical type of INFJ. TI INFJ, or kind of like practical thinking INFJ, I would say, again, not all INFJ are like this, but I mean as a base idea, I would say that TI thinking types within the INFJ find it much easier to be practical, find it much easier to detach themselves, and therefore are more individual and less codependent as a kind of percentage. Now, again, this is subjective, and I do know that there are codependent, thinking INFJs, but, basically, if you're kind of like a thinker, a practical thinker, and you do things less on emotion and more on thinking, you see things in a detached way, you see things in a practical way. Therefore, you become kind of more individual and more kind of like logical and question things more. Whereas the comparison is, if you're an FE, in terms of the cognitive functions, extroverted feeler, INFJ, you're connected more with the right side of the brain, more with emotions, more with feelings. Now, because of that, I imagine you would find it harder to detach yourself, and because you're very feeling orientated in comparison to thinking orientated, you always want to help people. You're always connected with people much more emotionally than a practical thinking INFJ would, and because of that, you want to help people, and almost to an extent you become a slave to people. Again, we don't always become slaves to people, but what I'm saying is, you should, if you are very feeling orientated, very emotional in terms of INFJ, be aware that some people will lean on you, and be aware that, don't basically kind of learn to detach yourself, is basically it. And I would say that the feeling types of INFJ are more susceptible to be codependent, because they're more attached to feeling and find it harder to detach themselves. That's basically it. So carrying on from the divide between the logical thinking INFJ and the emotional feeling INFJ, both types should be aware of when to help people and when not to help people. Now, primarily as empaths, we want to help people, It's one of those things where we just naturally want to help people out because it makes us feel better, and it's kind of like one of those things where you help them not really wanting anything in return. But because you don't ask for anything back, people think, oh, this guy's empathetic, I'm going to lean on him and I'm going to use him because this guy doesn't know how to say no, and he's just easy pickings, and if I need homework help, I'll just ask him because I won't have to owe him anything. That's basically the mentality of some people, and you've got to be aware that some people are very negative and some people are very scheming. They will try and find the easy way out. So if they know you to be a person who doesn't like to cause conflict and doesn't say no to people, they will lean on you. They could be your friends, they could be acquaintances. Just be aware that this is a mentality that some people have. So basically, how do you become codependent? You become codependent from a young age, and basically it's a repetitive thing. And when you grow up, you're kind of so used to people pleasing and so used to helping people out and being an empath and being aware of emotion that you could be a slave to it. Now basically, this is the best way to see it. If you're in a codependent relationship, this could be with friends, this could be with work, this could be with relatives. If they're coming to you for advice, if they're coming to you for help, and they're constantly asking for your advice and you're constantly giving help and draining yourself to help them, that's good. The thing is, if they're doing this again and again and they're not changing and they're not getting better, and if you've been helping them for months, years, and they come to you with the same problems and they're not learning from their mistakes, they're always going to do that, okay? Basically, these people are children. They don't want to take any responsibility for themselves. If they have an issue, they'll come to you and they'll be like, oh, I find this hard, oh, I don't know what to do, oh, I need guidance. And then you give them guidance and then they go and do the same crap again. I mean, they're not trying to even improve themselves. They're coming to you because you're their security blanket and you make them feel better. But at the end of the day, if they're not willing to change, if they're not willing to improve themselves, you're going to be stuck in a constant loop for the rest of your life. Who wants to be stuck in that kind of mentality and in that kind of relationship? And basically, like, if you know people who keep coming to you for the same crap, question to yourself, is this worth it? Is it really worth staying with these people? And I'm not saying put them to one side, but I'm saying that those people have to become individual. They can't be asking for help all the time. You can't be a child your whole life. You've got to stand up for yourself. If you move country, if you move to a different town, what are these people going to do? They're just going to go to someone else and ask for help. They're never going to take responsibility for themselves. Basically, that's what codependence is. You can't baby these people forever. They have to grow up, just as you have to grow up. Okay? I know that sounds blunt, I know it sounds direct, but basically you're helping people and you think you're fixing them, but actually you're stuck in a constant cycle, and basically, when will that cycle stop? Do you know what I mean? It's up to you. It's a thing called tough love, basically. If these people aren't improving and you've been helping them for weeks, months, years, and they're still doing the same crap, question, is this worth it? And you learn to say no, because there's a thing called tough love, and basically, you know, it's a thing that our parents do to us. If you don't use tough love, you know, it doesn't teach you to become an individual. You know, just like if you're a baby, you know, it's like you can give a baby a bottle and you can like make the bottle warm, you can make the milk warm and prepare it and give it to the baby, but at the end of the day, the baby, when he's older, he's got to learn to make his own meals, the baby's got to learn to make his own coffee, his own tea. I mean, if you were babying this person until he was an adult, he'd be an 18-year-old asking for you to do everything for him, and you'd be a slave to him, because basically he's 18 years old and you're still making meals for him, and you're still, you know, making milk for him, and you're doing everything for him. This person who was a baby is still a baby at age 18. What it comes down to is you've got to have tough love, because these people won't grow unless they do things themselves. That's basically it. And to become independent is basically to say, no, I can't, I'm sorry, not at this stage. Because you have your own priorities. You're allowed to be selfish, okay? Everyone to some degree is selfish because you are your own person. If you're your own person, you are you. Therefore, you can do what you want for yourself. And that's not being selfish, because everyone is a person. Do you know what I mean? That's basically it. You think that it's selfish to say no to people. You think it's bad to do things for yourself. You think it's, you know, don't become a slave to people, basically. You're allowed to say no. There is no shame in saying no. But so many INFJs struggle with it because they think that by saying no, I'm hurting this person's feelings. By saying no, I'm causing conflict. You're not. If anything, you're being a human being, and that's good, because basically, don't become a slave to people. And don't become, you know, a guide and an advisor to people who just do the same repetitive cycles again and again, because you're not going to improve, they're not going to improve, and both of you are just going to be at the same level for your entire life until one of you changes. It could be them, it could be you. But basically, until you make a change, the energy is going to be at the same level, because they're going to be doing the same crap and you're always going to be helping them. This could be for a friendship, this can be for a relationship. Energy will always be at the same level until one of those things changes. That's how you get out of codependency. Something's got to change in order for them or for you to become independent. And until then, you're just going to be stuck in a codependent cycle until something changes. So basically, how do you become self-sufficient? How do you gain self-confidence? Now, basically, the best way for me to explain it to you is to say how I did it. You might connect with a few things I'm saying. You might think, oh, that's a good idea, I'll try that. You know, I'm going to basically use my own experience to help you understand how to become more confident and how to, you know, yeah, basically get more confidence in yourself and therefore eventually become more independent. Basically, I know this is blunt and I know it's quite hard for some of you because you might be more feeling orientated than thinking orientated, but basically, don't give a crap. Don't give a crap what other people think. Don't give a crap what you do. I mean, but think about it this way. Unconsciously, everything that we try and do for people in life, for ourselves, is to help, is to do the right thing. By this logic, if that is the case, then you shouldn't really worry too much about what other people think, because essentially you're trying to do the best thing for the people, for you, you know, for the world, basically. And if that's an unconscious thing, and if that's a natural thing and a natural thinking process, don't think about it. Don't analyze yourself. Just do it, and don't question why you've done it. You've done it because you felt it was right. You've done it because you felt you were doing justice, and you've done it because it was moral and it was good and it was the right thing to do in terms of society and in terms of your ideals. But you've got to be realistic, basically. So basically, just don't analyze too much. I know that's really hard to say, but because we're natural psychologists anyway. But basically, just don't give a crap. Another thing to do is make lists. Make a list of what you want to do in the future. Make a list of things that you would like to do, and say, I'm going to do this. Okay? And basically, your thoughts create your reality. So if you say, I might do this, I maybe will do this, that's 50-50. If you say, I won't do this, that's 0%. If you say, I will do this, and there is nothing going to stop me doing this, that is 100%. Your thoughts create your reality. If you say you're going to do something, say, I will do this, I will not procrastinate, by the end of today I will have it done. Okay? A lot of INFJ don't do this. What a lot of INFJ do, which is what I used to do but don't do anymore, is they think about all the things that they have to do at once. And they think, I've got to do this, that, and then I've got to do that. And they see it as a massive web of ideas and a massive web of connections. And they see everything at once. And the thing is, you've got to train yourself to see it like this. Imagine that web. Imagine all those priorities, all those things that you have to do. Number them. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And number 1 is the most important thing you have to do, and you should try and get that done first. Number 2 is secondary importance, and 3, 4, 5, 6, until it gets to the last one. And the last one is the least important thing. But do you know what I mean? Basically, you're setting your priorities, you're setting direction, you're creating forward momentum, forward energy. And another good thing to do is also use paper, write down lists, and order your thoughts and say, I will do this. I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by the end of today, or and you're basically you're taking that step towards what you want to be. You're taking that step towards where you want to go, and you're taking that step towards your final destination. Now, a lot of INFJ don't know what they want to do in the future. That's fair enough. But think about the things that you would love to do. Think about the things that when you were young you dreamed of doing. Think about the things that make you happy. And then write these things down. Maybe find articles which are connected, and always have them in mind. But if you don't write stuff down, it doesn't become real. An idea is always going to be an idea until it's been put onto paper. That's the best way to put it. If you put something on paper, it means that you're creating direction. You're bringing your thoughts into reality, basically. And if you've got all these webs of thoughts and ideas and priorities that you have to do, I've got to help this person out, I've got to do this, I want to make a website, I want to be artistic, I want to have this job, I want to travel here. Do you know what I mean? You might have a lot of thoughts. Basically, order your thoughts. What is the most important thing currently, and what is something that, do you know what I mean? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And until you put those thoughts onto paper, they're always going to be thoughts, they're always going to be an idea, and they're always going to be a dream, until you create direction and until you bring it into life and you make it real, okay? And until you start doing that, you're not really going to create any direction. And basically, it's confidence in yourself, because you're saying, this is who I am, these are my priorities, this is what I want to do. You're creating yourself. And basically, yeah, just do that. Is the best thing I can say. I can't think of anything more to say, because this is what I've done to make myself as developed and the best I could be. The best thing to do is just accept your flaws as well. Just look at all your negatives and go, I'm bad at this, I'm bad at that, I'm bad at that. But by next year, I would have improved on that. And then in 5 years' time, you would have improved 5 times over where you were on the year you started. If you improve yourself every year, by the 5th year, you'll be a completely different person to the person you were at the first year you started trying to become a better version. Do you know what I mean? If you always constantly try and improve yourself, if you make lists, and basically if you make priorities and you learn to say no, you learn to be confident, and you learn not to question yourself, you'll be happy, basically. So yeah, I know I've said a lot of stuff in the final section of this, but if you make any connections with what I'm saying, then that's good. It's something to think about and something to consider. And there we are, guys. You know, thank you guys for watching. Again, thank you guys for all your support. I've just recently gone past the 1,000 subscriber mark, which is something I've like dreamed of having, you know, after starting these videos 3 years ago. And you know, I finally got to that mark, and now I'm thinking, where do I go from here, kind of thing. But again, thank you for your support. Thank you for, you know, your kind messages, and you know, I'm just glad I helped you guys out, because I was stuck until, you know, I kind of like learnt to come out of it. But you know, it's just, we all help each other and we all aim to get better. That's basically it. I mean, again, I can't really say much more, but thank you. This has been TheBarracuda57, over and out.